1 year ago, a police officer killed George Floyd. As a matter of law, that killing was found to be a murder just within the last month. And while part of that case is over, we are now at the anniversary, and it's a major mark for America, with marches across the country this week honoring Floyd and demanding reform. If this is a time for reform after this long year, what else is there even to say? Well, a lot, it turns out, because any constructive action requires clarity about the facts. What has changed in this past year since Mr. Floyd was murdered, and what has not? Which brings us to our special report tonight on the facts. So we're going to do it like this. First, what's changed, then what hasn't, which many advocates say is part of understanding what should change. Change number one, a murder conviction for an officer. In America, police kill more unarmed citizens than most countries, and they are virtually never convicted of murder. Over a whole decade, with about 10,000 police shootings, you see here there were 0 officers convicted of murder. Amidst recent pressure, that turned to about 1 a year. And now, in 2021, 1 this year with a jury convicting Derek Chauvin of murder. Another change. Police forces that uniformly line up behind officers, usually no matter what they're accused of. Well, in this single case, we saw a crack emerge. Officers and even the police chief testifying against the defendant.
The defendant violated our policy.
Would this be authorized?
I would say no.
So he could have ended the restraint.
Your view of that use of force during that time period?
Totally unnecessary.
That was unusual. Change number 3. In rare cases where an officer is charged, prosecutors often use a framework of a bad apple going rogue, not charging a group crime, even if evidence suggests there was one by several officers. But here, prosecutors indicted officers who did not literally kill Floyd because they were part of what is now a convicted murder. Each of those changes matters to that case and to the Floyd family. Each are also limited. They're about just that individual case, not fixing structural problems that lead to these situations in the first place. And to be fair, individual prosecutions are not usually intended to tackle wider policy structure, but there's also been some change on that front too. New binding reviews of entire PDs, states passing laws to limit excessive force, 16 states curbing neck restraints, 10 other states adding body cameras to policing in the recognition that tapes appear to provide more truth than some reports by police, 5 states restricting controversial no-knock warrants, some states reforming special police immunity, which prevents officers from being held accountable for their actions even when there's no jail time on the table in civil court. Take the recent Colorado incident where unarmed women and children were handcuffed and held at gunpoint by police in broad daylight in a parking lot. Those were children. Do you remember what happened? Police admitted it was wrong. They said the whole thing was a mistaken identity. They apologized, but there were no criminal charges, and normally that's where the whole thing would end. But thanks to a new law only passed since the Floyd killing, Colorado is one of 4 states reforming police immunity, and the people you just saw on the ground now, thanks to the new law, they are able to take those police to court. In Washington, there's a push in Congress to end that police immunity nationwide, a push where the House swiftly passed the George Floyd Justice in Policing Act.
The yeas are 220, the nays are 212. The bill is passed.
That passed the House. Take it all together on this anniversary, and it's measurably more action on police reform than any single year in the last several decades. Those are facts.